Hi, my name is Billy D'Addario, and I write romance novels. And today I thought we'd talk about um, author self-doubt and how it affects us, and what we can do. 10 different ways that we can stop the self-doubt and work through it. For me, self-doubt is just part of what writing is about. It took me 50 years, 52 years before I was able to conquer my self-doubt. I wanted to write when I was 5 years old. My aunt and I would sit at the table, and I would dictate to her, and she would write down all different stories for me. And I worked with her a lot, writing different stories. She really believed in me and worked with me and helped me chase my dreams, no matter what my dreams happened to be. She was a wonderful woman. Unfortunately, she's not alive to see me write my first novel. I waited too long to start, and I hope you don't do that because you're afraid, because you have self-doubt. Because self-doubt can just murder your dreams. And I believe personally that writers, self-doubt is worse for writers than it is for painters or musicians, simply because you are putting your intellect out there. You are putting your soul out to be judged by others, and that makes writing even more of a risk when it comes to your what's the word that I'm looking for? It makes writing even more of a risk to your ego. So here are 10 ways that you can overcome writers' self-doubt. The first one is to surround yourself with people you trust, people who are supportive. You don't need to share your work with everyone who comes around. You don't even have to share your work with everyone who shows an interest. You only have to show your work to those people that you know are going to be supportive and who really you can trust. For example, I trust my family, and I trust my husband. Both are very supportive. My mother, for example, she always asks about my writing, and I tell her generally how it's going. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the interest that she shows in my work. Let's see. You can focus on your strengths. Focus on the things that you do well. That's number 2. You can focus on the things that you do well. In the back of my mind, I know that I write dialogue well. So when I come to a spot in my writing where I'm really struggling, in the back of my mind, I keep in mind that I write dialogue well, and not every writer writes dialogue well. Some writers really struggle with dialogue. And so when I come to a world building scene that I struggle with, in the back of my mind, I know that I can write dialogue really well, and I save the times for writing dialogue really well as a reward for getting through those world building scenes and those description scenes that I struggle with. Third, you can write every single day. Treat writing as a job. Write every single day. It's a muscle that you have to practice writing. If you write every single day, your mind and your muscle memory will get used to it, and then you won't have the struggles with your ego trying to get you to not write. You won't have to fight with your ego every time you sit down at the computer, telling you that you're not a good writer. You might get writer's block, but you won't have to fight with your ego telling you that you're not a good writer, because your muscle memory will take over and say that, no, it doesn't matter if I'm a good writer or not. I can write. I can do this. Number 4 is you can celebrate the little wins. The little wins are things like, I wrote to my word count today, or I wrote this scene very well today. Things like that. Celebrate those little wins. They're important. Be kind to yourself. Remember that setbacks happen, and that just because they happen, that doesn't mean that you're a bad writer or that you can't write or that you're going to struggle every time you write. It just means that setbacks sometimes happen, and they don't happen every time you write. They just happen sometimes. So if you're celebrating those wins when you do have a setback, it's not the end of the world. You can remember that, hey, last week I had a win and I celebrated that win, and I'm going to have another win next week or tomorrow. Avoid comparing yourself to other writers. Just because other writers win accolades and things like that, if you start comparing yourself to them, you'll just find yourself in a downward spiral in no time at all. You can't compare yourself to others. You have to be you, and you have to do the things that you do well, do it to the very best of your ability, and don't compare yourself to others who are winning accolades or getting big contracts or things like that. Just do the best that you can, tell the story that you were meant to tell, and let your story live in the world as you created it. Number 7 is don't let your inner critic win. If you let your inner critic win, you will lose every time. You have to overcome that inner critic and tell it to shut up. Literally tell it to shut up. If your inner critic tries to creep in and tell you that you can't write, or that you don't know what you're doing, or this is too big of a challenge for you, just tell it to shut up. Just shut the fuck up. And the more you tell it to shut up, the less it will creep in on you. And literally, that's what I had to do when I started my novel, because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't plot it out. I didn't have any idea what I was doing. I was a pantser, but I finished it. I finished writing the first draft, and that's what you have to do. You have to write it. Now I'm in the middle of revising it, and that's what you have to do. You have to get it on paper. You have to revise it. You have to edit it. You have to get it finished. Number 8 is you have to have faith. You have to have faith in yourself. You have to have faith in your process. You have to have faith that you can write. And that faith is built by writing. It's done by producing. It's done, the proof that you can write is by writing. The proof that you can write will eventually come by publishing. The proof that you can write will eventually come by people buying your books, by publishing your poems, by publishing your short stories. That's how the faith will come. Faith is belief in with no proof, but the proof will come if you keep at it. Number 9 is give yourself permission to write garbage. Just get it down on the page. Get your ideas down on the page. You can fix them as you edit it. You can fix it as you revise it. Just give yourself permission to write absolute garbage, and then be prepared to edit it, fix it later on as you edit and things like that. And it can be painful to hear the things that you need to fix, but get it down on the page. That's the important thing. Write it out. Get it done. You have to do that process before you can revise it and edit it. And so what if it's bad writing? That's the worst thing that can happen, is that you don't write it. The second worst thing is that you write it bad. You don't want the worst thing. You want the second worst thing. And you can fix it if you write it bad. You can't fix it if you don't write it. And 10, the last thing is let the feelings of uncertainty and self-doubt sit with you, and write anyway. Sometimes that's just what you have to do. Sometimes you can't shake the feelings. Sometimes they're just too deep and you just have to write anyway. And for me, a bad day of writing, a bad feeling, a bad day of writing is better than the best day of doing anything else I can imagine. I would rather write and have a day where I feel crummy about what I'm writing, crummy about myself, crummy that I'm not doing more, that I'm not better, that I didn't finish enough words, that my ideas aren't flowing right, that I'm unsure of the plot, is better than the very best day of doing anything else I can imagine. I would rather write than eat. So those are the 10 ways to overcome writer self-doubt. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you find it helpful. If you did find it helpful, give me a thumbs up. If you have any comments, leave them in the comment box below. Share this video, and think about subscribing, please. It helps. It would really help me out a lot because I'm new to YouTube. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.